Hi everyone, and very warm welcome. It's great to have so many of you joining us from everywhere around the world today, no matter where you're watching from: New York, London, Paris, Seoul, Tokyo, Shanghai, or somewhere completely different. Today's a pretty exciting moment for us because it officially kicks off the international countdown to IFA 2026. Over the next hour, we want to give you a first look at what's coming, what's new this year, and why Berlin will once again become the global meeting place for consumer technology this September. And before we fit into it, one quick thing: we really want to hear from you as well. So you should see a QR code on your screen right now. You just scan it, head over to Slido and send us your questions at any point during the conversations. So whenever something comes up, just put it in there. We'll collect your questions throughout the talk and come back to as many of them as we can in the Q&A at the end. And because today isn't just about looking ahead to another trade show, IFA brings together product launches, business, media, creators, culture and consumers all in one place. And that mix is really what makes it so interesting. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's really no better person to take us through this walk, what's ahead for IFA 2026, than the CEO of IFA Management, Leif Lindner. Leif, welcome. Would you mind introducing yourself just real quick?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Yara. My name is Leif Lindner. I'm born originally in the western part of Berlin. This year will be the third edition of IFA that I'm responsible for. And before, I was working 20 years in the industry, starting with 5 years for Sony and 15 years as a vice president of consumer electronic and home appliances for Samsung in Germany. But now, again, also from my side, a very warm welcome to everybody of you, to newcomers, but also, of course, to the persons that meet us, our team, my team, in the last couple of years. Today, I want to present something about our show, what will happen in 2026. And it's not a presentation, it's more an invitation to you all. And we, of course, will give an early look into 2026. And we want to show you where future tech, consumer technology and home appliances is heading to. And to be honest, the future is now, is our claim, and it perfectly fits to this year's edition.
So you just said it, this year's claim, the future is now. It's simple, it's memorable, but it's also like quite a bold statement. Why did you come up with this idea?
It's quite easy because, let's say, turbulent times where innovations are faster than ever. It doesn't feel sometimes like a vision. It feels that you see an idea, a vision, and it definitely arrives directly in your daily life. And that means we're talking about that the future is happening in a moment and not like in a science fiction movie in a couple of weeks or months or years. So, the technology that we are talking about means AI, smart homes, digital health, robotics, mobility. And one of the key messages is that technology is becoming more intuitive in these days. Sometimes, it's not visible, it's invisible, but that's exactly what technology means in a moment. It matters about what it brings to the person in their daily lives and not a design or only a brand. It's all about experience. And in the end, IFA reflects where the industry stands today, because people want relevance and not only products. And they want to see, as I mentioned, what kind of product is changing their life.
People often describe IFA as one of the world's leading consumer technology shows, but today, as you just mentioned, it feels like it's only part of the whole story. So how would you describe IFA now?
I bring it to the point. IFA is not one of the most important shows. It's the importance and the biggest show in the world for future tech, consumer electronics and home appliances. Because last year we had 220,000 attendees at our show from more than 140 countries. We have more than 1,900 exhibitors and also more than 4,400 press, influencers and creators at our show. And the reach of our show was more than 300 billion, so really huge. And what I also want to mention is, and that's significant for our show, we have retail partners for more than 100 countries. That means we are the melting pot also of worldwide retail. And Yara, it's easy when I'm talking about it, but the best proof of concept you get from people who are interacting with you. And I was really proud of my team that we got 2 rewards for last year's show. And that was really, how can I say, breathtaking for our team, because we were voted from the AEO Award Association in London as the best international show last year. And also we were voted as the best marketing campaign. And that exactly shows that the transition that we did, because the rebranding was happening 3 years ago, is exactly that our path that we are currently going is really successful and reasonable. And in the end, the mix at IFA matters. Brands, retailers, creators, startups, journalists, and consumers together. That is a unique mix, and IFA makes visible where innovation becomes tangible and exciting.
It also feels like it's a time we're living in which is really mixed, like mixed media, mixed everything. So it's not only technology, it's not only about devices and specifications anymore. It's about what those technologies actually mean for people and how it fits into our everyday lives, right?
Exactly. And Yara, do you have a feeling how often, by the way, you are in average a person living in industrial countries is using technology? Any idea?
I think more than I want to admit, actually. Probably 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, even more, 7 hours. That
Wow.
means people spend more time with technology that you see at our show than taking the time for sleep. And that means a show like us is so relevant for everyday people, because it reflects and influences definitely their daily life. How they work, how they communicate, how they travel, about their health, their tracking, or the cooking, and of course entertainment. And IFA evolved with that change, because a good tech show cannot only show products, it had to give the feeling of people that we touch everything that product is dealing with. So that means technology meets real life. That is what matters in a moment. And people look definitely how technology is impacting their daily life.
Let's stay here for a bit. Probably that's why people often say that IFA feels different from other technology events, because what you just said is it's energetic, you have consumers, media, brands, creators, retailers, all in the same place. Was that something that you did intentionally, or has it just grown?
Very much so, because technology does not live only in exhibition halls. It lives in everyday life, as I mentioned. And I remember when I was visiting CES last year, there was a journalist from Tom's Guide, and he said to me, Leif, I think you should, let's say, point out more how unique your show is in terms of the situation that you also have to have B2C attendance. Because brands look at experts like media partners, or they get feedback from retailers, from influencer, but the most important thing is missing. The person who should use the product, the end consumer, is not there. And that is, in my opinion, real advantage. Also, the guy was saying to me that you get the full picture of people using, not only selling, but also using the product. That means, in the end, IFA is also about conversation, culture, and community. And it's not a closed platform, it's an open platform. And this year, we even will go the next step further.
So let's talk about that for a second, because 2026, you just said it, brings some really exciting new chapters for IFA. What is it?
Yeah, in the end, of course, technology never stands still, and the cycles of innovation getting faster and faster and faster. And our job is, therefore, IFA means innovation for all, that we want to explain what technology more or less means to people. So more or less, there is a stronger focus on topics that transforming daily life, like AI, smart living, digital health, beauty tech, mobility, content creation, gaming, robotics is of course a big topic, sustainability, and, as I said, future of retail. What is important for the retail partners of the future? And IFA, that's unique, presents them in a connecting way.
Can you already give us like a first sense of some concrete program highlights, probably, that reflects that, what you just said, like wider direction of IFA?
Of course I can. The challenge sometimes is that informations that we got are sometimes under disclosure agreement, because it had to be the big bang at our show. The nearer we are coming to the show, the more information we can, of course, let's say, give out and spread out. So you will see what I'm saying now will be adapted the next couple of months and weeks. But of course I can give you an appetizer.
Yes, please.
Yes. So this time, in first year, Volkswagen, the biggest German car manufacturer, will be on stage, and they will talk about how mobility and consumer tech will go together. How the car is more or less the middle point of mobile communication, of interaction with every technology that you also will use at home. And robotics, as I said before. So we'll have the CEO of Neuro Robotics, one of the biggest German industry for humanoid robotics. And we will show how human robotics will become part of the daily life. And we will also have, we call it robots on a runway during our show. That means we selected up to 20 different models who are showing as a model their skills on a runway. So you can be really curious, and it will be really interesting to join. Last but not least, politics is a really important point. And we could convince the German digital minister, Dr. Carsten Wildberger, to have a dialogue on stage talking about the connection between business, technology, and, of course, politics.
So if we talk about also digital politics as well as robotics, we definitely have to talk about AI as well. AI is everywhere. So what role will AI play at IFA this year?
Of course, AI will be one of the most defining themes, as you can imagine. But we had to find the real thin line between using AI as a buzzword. We want to showcase together with the brands that we will focus on real value. What brings AI in your everyday life? What does it bring for smart home, for healthcare, and for mobility, for retail, and for creativity? So more or less, we can summarize it like that. We want to showcase AI with real purpose, and how AI is becoming part of almost everyday category. It means how intuitive smart home can be, how can health care supported by the wearables in detail, how AI can improve mobility, or how AI can motivate and enable retailers to understand consumers in a better way. And last but not least, how AI cannot say pull down creativity, how it can help people to be more creative.
And apart from AI, where do you see is the strongest momentum right now?
I would say in a moment in the parts of digital health and beauty tech, because people look more and more and spend a lot of money. By the way, by far, interesting wise, the Chinese people spend the most of their money for their health. Also interesting, comparing to the worldwide analysis. And of course, also we are looking for more personalized lifestyle. Everybody is individual, so that means you have to, in a moment, handle several things manually, but AI will have the biggest impact there. And smart living will move from devices more to an ecosystem. That means your home will get more efficient, more comfortable, and more sustainable. So people will feel the real value very easily in that area. Of course, also gaming and content creation is growing very fast. At these times, as you can imagine, creators driving product discovery in a totally different way over years. That means we have a generation of people who have the first contact with a product, not in a retail store, not online, I mean indirectly online. The first contact, the first smell of a technology or a product, they get from the creator and influencer. And therefore also we had to adapt that trend to give our industry partners the stage that they had to that they earn for their new technology. And last but not least, consumer tech means connecting living. That is, I would say, the most reasonable thing.
You just said you give them a stage for big technologies. IFA has always been known for major product launches as well. So what can we expect this year?
Yeah. I remember when I was starting to work for IFA 3 years ago, a little weakness was that too many product launches happened sometimes even before the show. I see it, I also saw it beginning of this year at the big consumer electronics show in US that, for example, Samsung was launching their new mobile 1 week after the show. Because there is a, not tendency, but there is that opportunity. And therefore it was so important for me to, how can I say, to reload our show that people exactly look, use our show and to communicate their strategy or show their products first to the world. And fortunately, last year we had 38% more new products comparing to the year before. And this year we already know it will even be more. And that means, Yara, I would summarize it like that. Other shows quite often show a trailer. IFA is showing the movie. We are not talking about visions, we're talking about, as I said, product that you can normally buy easily directly after the show. Nevertheless, as I said, we will have a lot of world premieres of products, so it makes absolute sense that you guys joining us at our show, not in the beginning of IFA at the 4th. Guys, you please had to come at the at the 2nd and 3rd, because the media days will happen there. During that day, or that days, a lot of press conference announcement already happened. And we have a strong program with Miele, Bosch, Siemens, Therabody, Anker, Roborock, AEG, or Haier, or Hisense, you name it. And last but not least, call to action please also is on Thursday at 6 o'clock, the ShowStopper event happened. Many of you know. But this gives also innovative companies with a lower scale a visibility, and that's a perfect time for networking for you guys. So please join also the ShowStopper event.
But it's not only about like networking, there's also like a strong business side to IFA, of course. So what role will retail and commerce play 2026?
So retail, we said, is VIP. Retail is the most important thing for us. Why? Because number one KPI for the big brands exhibiting at our show is the number of international attendees. And in the moment, we are quite happy we could increase the number in the moment to up to 70%. 70% joining our show are international. That means IFA is, as I said, the biggest international tech show in the world. And more or less, retail is also therefore crucial because we have a long tradition. IFA is now 102 years old. And when I remember when I was talking with my former global boss of Samsung, he told me, Leif, you know why we go to IFA? There are many reasons, but the main reason is that's the biggest gathering in the world for the most important retail partners. If I go there, I can more or less talk with 90% relevant people being responsible for the worldwide trade. And that is, I would say, what IFA makes all about. And therefore, we have also two important formats. the Retail Leader Summit, where we invite the C-level people from all over the world from the current trade. We will also have the Retail Innovation Zone, where we more or less summarize the biggest retailer in Europe at one place.
So what you're saying, if I get it right, is that IFA isn't necessarily about just more content, it's about making that content clearer and easier to navigate, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, we have 180,000 square meters. It's really huge that we're using. The advantage is, if you visit shows in Barcelona, Las Vegas or Milan, then you have the challenge, you had to move around. It's not easy. At IFA, you're at one place. It's huge, but together with our, let's say, newsletter or with our app, we give people a strong orientation for visitors, but also for media partners. And as I said, it's the perfect place to find partners for the right conversations that you cannot easily find everywhere, and in person, not digitally. And for me, it's important to say that we have really reasonable content tracks and top areas that we are covering. IFA as a show floor, as a content platform, and of course, as a business platform.
So you just mentioned networking as well. So you often said that IFA should not end at the entrance of the Messe. This year it feels truer than ever. Why is it important for IFA to expand beyond the exhibition halls?
So Berlin has always been part of IFA. If you look back at the history, 1924, IFA was opened in Berlin. Berlin is a perfect city for that. Regarding startup hub, there is only Lisbon on the same level in Europe. That means a lot of creativity, but also a lot of culture. And Berlin means creativity, experimentation, and reinvention. More or less, it means technology and culture belong together. And when you, at these days, want to do an important and successful tech event, you can not only show products or do matchmaking with people, it's also always a cultural thing. Because only culture shapes real innovation and adoption. And I would say IFA must show where technology lives, and that we are doing.
And perhaps one of the best examples this year is the ICC Berlin. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, the ICC Berlin, and you're right, to be honest, I'm also very exciting. I was there last time when I was, I think, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And more like it's a protected architectural landmark from 1979. It was built as a, how can I say, as a proof of innovation. It looks very futuristic. Hunger Games, for example, was also filmed there. It was closed for the public for a decade, and it will totally renovating after we had the opportunity. And what could IFA choose as a better place to do our gala there? Because it's a place where technology, entertainment, and conversation will happen. And yeah, that means we are showing one more time that we are more open, cultural, and connected to the city of Berlin.
Definitely. And alongside the ICC, you're also introducing the podcast days, which you would normally, like not think about IFA and think about podcast days. So why podcasts?
I would say, I don't know how you enjoy podcasts. I enjoy podcasts more often than reading in a moment, I would say.
Me too.
And because a podcast can give more depth to topics. And the time changes. Many communication, also for brands, work with podcasts, and therefore it makes sense. If we want to have the 360-degree view, then I think we had to also use that instrument for communication. And more or less, podcasts are like IFA, very trusted and on a way intimate. So they build also communities. I remember last year we had also a very important podcaster from US. I did also a podcast with her. And I saw how there is a different vibe you can transport with a podcast. So more or less, from the show floor to the ICC, content, conversation, and community. That will all happen in a podcast, and we are very exciting because we have a lot of very interesting podcasts.
Leif, can I say this? I feel like IFA sounds more like a festival rather than a trade show.
Yeah, in some ways, yes. And it was funny, when I was start to work in the industry, then my colleagues in London always talking about, Leif, you are now responsible for the big festival. I said, what kind of festival? Now, but I know, it makes absolute sense. In a way, as I said, it is a festival, but of course it's still IFA. And it means launches of products or of strategies or industry meetings, of course, are the core of the IFA, that's for sure. But we had to add new layers there. Because, as I mentioned several times, technology is touching many parts of our life. And we have the unique opportunity of the Summer Garden, because maybe not everybody of you is aware, in the center of the IFA, in between the 180,000 square meters, we have that venue for concerts. So up to 10,000 people can go there. And that is exactly means, again, music, community, shared experiences, also younger audiences, by the way. And they want context, emotion, and shareable moments. And it was so funny. Last year, I was visiting one concert that was sold out with an American US influencer. I was not aware how she likes it or not, but she was with her manager and she said, thank you so much. It gives me a unique vibe that I never get at any other show. And that's also a proof of concept. Therefore, we're doing it like that.
Definitely. And also you include Berlin in various ways and you show what Berlin can offer as well. So it's actually kind of like part of the product, right?
You're right. Berlin is not a backdrop. It's part of the experience. Therefore, I also recommend everybody of you, if you visit IFA this year, please not only visit the keynotes or panel talks, spend some time in the exhibition halls and see what happened directly there. Because also Summer Garden, as I said, because only when you experience all of this, you get the right vibe, the right feeling, and the full information because you see how people interact with the products.
So we've talked about experience, the city, new formats. Let's zoom out for a bit. IFA is also one of the most international technology platforms in the world. What does that global role mean for 2026?
You're right. As I described before, IFA is definitely a global show, and the role is even getting more important. Because at these difficult times, it is important that IFA build bridges. And we see ourselves in the middle of a triangle. We have North America, we have Asia, we have Europe, and IFA is connecting more or less the dots. Because innovation cannot happen only in one country or one continent. It happens when people come together. And therefore, it is an absolute place to discover global innovation. Also, by the way, a platform for startups combined with media, retailers, and creators. And only if this happened, we have that international exchange that gives IFA that special vibe and energy.
And Leif, you mentioned earlier many times that IFA is both like business and consumer focused. Why is that combination so powerful, would you say?
Because it reflects how the market works. On the one hand, consumer attention, and on the other hand, business momentum. You had to combine it if you want to sell a product, if you want to create partnerships. Because yes, brands launch a product, but media explain it, creators share it, and the retailers see the demand. In the end, consumers experience it. And if you see just different layers, that is why IFA is not only visibility, it's about market reality.
And for the international media watching today, what will make IFA 2026 especially relevant?
I would say three things: access, content, and experience. Because it gives access to companies, executive, products, and new ideas and also visions. And it gives you context around the connected trends. You can experience technology in real life, and that exactly gives you strong stories that are dealing with technology and why technology matters.
Let's stay here for one more second and make it more difficult for you in a way. If you had only 3 words to describe IFA 2026, what would it be?
Innovation, connection, and experience. Because innovation means how ideas come to life. Connection means people connect with markets, connect with culture, therefore connection. And experience because seeing is one thing, understanding the other. If you combine everything, you have to experience. And this is exactly what IFA stands for.
And one last question to wrap this part up. If there's any journalist still deciding whether to go to Berlin this September, yes or no, what would you say?
I think I talk a lot about that. But to sum it up, it means if you have to come to IFA because it's where the story begins. Again, where new products and global launches happened, keynotes, interviews, demos happened that you can only see at our show. We call it also IFA moments. We call it not technology moment, IFA moments, because only we creating that special atmosphere. We help people to understand the trends. So we are before the wave and we are shaping the industry. And of course, we meet people behind that innovation. We see also how consumers interact with technology, and IFA is something you have to experience. So that means if you only want to visit one show this year, then IFA is the one. Please put it in your schedule.
Thank you very much, Leif. I think this gives everyone watching a much clearer sense of where IFA is heading, not only as a trade show, but as a global platform bringing together technology, business, media, culture and consumers. And before we open the Q&A, is there any final thought that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Yara. Thank you, International Media. I hope today gave you a sense where IFA is heading. And more announcement, as I mentioned, coming quite soon in the next couple of weeks. So we have, of course, more launches of new products that we can inform you. Also about the whole exhibitor list, keynote program, the cultural moment. And last but not least, you can say today was just the beginning. And innovation for all, the claim IFA stands for, I would say was clearly described today. And it's not only 3 words, it's our mission. And again, innovation never happens in isolation. And I think that would be my summary.
That sounds very good. Thank you very much, Leif. And
thank you.
Thanks to everyone watching us from everywhere around the world. Now we are moving into our Q&A. So if you haven't left your questions so far, just head over to Slido, scan the link and send us your questions. And I think we just start with our first one. IFA is one of several major global technology events alongside CES, MWC and Computex. What makes IFA different and why should international media and brands keep Berlin on their agenda?
I would say again, the shows that I mentioned there are only showing a part of what IFA is showing. Computex is totally different and maybe 1/3 of the size than our show. I didn't see, for example, home appliances. I didn't see future tech there, for example. MWC is more focused on the big telecommunication topics, and CES have, I would say, 50% automotive share. And no B2C, let's say, connection, and not the number of retail partners that come to our show. that is, I would say, the most important reason for that.
So, right, before we head to our next questions, don't be shy, guys. Just put in your questions. This is the moment. So, the next one is, we are seeing growing interest from US media and creators. What makes IFA relevant for the US market, and what can US companies and media gain from being in Berlin?
So, if I look at the attendee list of media, US is a solid partner, or we have solid, let's say, members joining our show over years. And we decided to change our agency 18 months ago because US is next to the Asian market, the biggest market, of course, for technology, for innovation. And all of us are working with products from US every single day. And why is IFA important? Because on the one hand, it's the gate to Europe. On the one hand, many companies from also Germany, but Europe, are cooperating with US companies. And I'm thinking about 80 companies from US exhibiting. And last one, as I said, we will show a lot of innovations that even in US were not shown before. Some of the launches were exactly moved to the time frame of September to our show and not to any other opportunity in Chicago or in Las Vegas, because the companies choose our show by intention because of the big reach and the big meaning of our show.
There is another question. Asia continues to play a major role in shaping consumer technology. How important are markets such as China, Korea and Japan for IFA 2026?
Yeah, as I mentioned, exactly these three countries are the biggest ones cooperating with us. Therefore, I did in all of the countries 2 or 3 press conferences in the last 12 months, because we want to communicate with you guys or with the journalists from these countries more in detail, more on eye level. And especially China gives a lot of innovative pressure in the moment. And they want to show, they look for places to show. And I know for them, our show is their most important window to the world. Korea is a solid partner since years, Japan as well. And for them, again, also Europe, it's their gate to Europe and partially also to India. And therefore, for these kind of partners, IFA is important as well. And for us, of course, too.
So that was it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leif. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. I cannot wait for IFA this year. Sounds really, really promising. And I hope you do too. So see you in September.
Thank you. Yeah. See you.